Hello and welcome to the Maximize Potential podcast. I'm John.
And I'm Scott.
This is our first episode of the podcast where we're going to be going over everything fitness related. Some of the topics we're going to talk about are general fitness, sports performance training for athletes, diet and nutrition, mobility and stretching, and goal setting and mindset. So this is a new thing for us and we're really excited about it. I've never done a podcast before. Have you ever done a podcast before?
Never hosted one, no.
So thank you for being here. Thanks for being along with the journey for us. The plan behind this podcast is to dive a little bit deeper into the topics surrounding the fitness community. We know there's a lot of things out there, a lot of myths that we want to try and debunk. There's a lot of flashy exercises, fad diets, everything like that we kind of want to bring in some experts in the field, sit around, have a tabletop discussion, and just kind of see what we can do to help you guys get closer to your fitness goals. So that being said, we kind of want to go in a little bit of background of who we are, besides just saying that we are the owners of Maximize Potential. And we want to talk about the background and how we kind of got started into our fitness journey. So a little bit of my background. I'm John. Yes, we are both the owners of Maximize Potential. My background, I had a mentor in high school. His name was Leo Ward. I started working out with him my summer of my 8th grade year going into 9th grade. He was, I don't know how my mom found him. I guess he had like an ad in the newspaper or something like that, word of mouth or something. But he was the former head and strength and conditioning coach of Illinois University during the 80s and 90s whenever they won all the Big Ten championships. So he was a very knowledgeable, very legit strength coach. And for some reason, I guess he just had a passion for helping people, but he only charged $20 a month for a full everything programmed. We did speed training in the summertime where we would go and run sprints and use the Extra Genie that a lot of our clients know about here. Actually, the ladder that we have, the orange ladder that's about 10 yards long that we have at the facility, that's Coach Ward's. So his training philosophy was a little bit different than what your kind of raw strength coaching styles were that you kind of see now at like Alabama or Oregon or anything like that. So he kind of took me under his wing and taught me the reasons why we were doing what we were doing, the movements and everything, opposed to just saying, go squat, now go bench. So that's kind of the training philosophy that I've adopted over the years. I guess for the past 15 years now, him and I have been in contact together. So he was the big thing that got me started into sports performance training or strength and conditioning. I actually I was dead set on going to college and then being a D1 strength coach. Luckily, during my undergrad, I had an internship at a D1 football team, and I found out that really wasn't what I wanted to do long term. It was really cool. Yeah, we had athletes that ran a 4.2. I had one guy I was spotting bench. He was a defensive lineman, and he put up like 450 for 5 reps. And it was awesome, but that atmosphere was just something I didn't really want because there was 40, 50, 60 kids at once. I couldn't really build that relationship with them that I like in the smaller setting. So I learned right away, or my undergrad, I learned that I did not want to go in the D1. I wanted to kind of go more private sector. So when I enrolled in my master's program at Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where I did my undergrad, I was fortunate enough to learn how to start my own business through the master's program. I took some, facility management courses. I did a mock facility makeup and business plan and all that stuff. So it really kind of led me to being a private sector strength coach where about 2 or 3 months before I graduated from Indiana University, Pennsylvania with my master's, I was actually fortunate enough to get a sports performance coaching job in Irwin, Pennsylvania. I believe that's where this one was. It was called National Speed and Strength Academy. I was a sports performance coach there. After 2 or 3 months, I was promoted to head sports performance coach at the new branch location in Latrobe, PA, where I was the head coach there for about a year and a half. And then from there, I transitioned to the director of sports performance at Velocity Sports Performance in Westchester, New York, so right above Manhattan, where Scott came in. He was an intern with me at first, and then we transitioned him over to a full-time sports performance coach. And then from there, we kind of wound up in Texas.
Yeah, so I'm Scott, co-owner of Maximize Potential here in Central Texas, and really happy to be starting this podcast. I think it's going to be a really amazing thing for us to provide you guys content and really hear who we are a little bit more. So I started off, I was a swimmer for 12 years, competitive swimmer, was always in the pool. We had I swam for a year in college, but we always had some kind of a workout program with the, or dry land work, they called it, with the swimming. And so I was always really interested in that stuff and how to improve yourself and improve your body and improve your performance. I was always just really interested in that. I used to work out in the basement at my house when I was a kid, like growing up. Didn't have any clue what I was doing, but always really interested in it and just like to gather more information. I was in college, my freshman and sophomore year. I used to hang out with these guys that were, pseudo bodybuilder type and had that mentality, and I did a couple things with them, and I also tried the CrossFit thing for a little while. It always seemed like there was like some missing pieces, so I was always trying to learn more and improve and really, just learn as much as I could. It was always a hobby, but I just loved to learn more and more about it. So I graduated with an undergraduate degree in biology, and my original track was med school, but I decided that wasn't really the lifestyle that I wanted. I wanted to get out and kind of experience, and I didn't want to be stuck in school for another how many ever years. So I decided I wanted to go out and get some experience. So I moved back home to Indiana, Pennsylvania, where John was. John and I met. We were working at the same place at the time, and he was doing his master's in exercise physiology. And I've always had an interest in this stuff. So when I found that out, and I was working out, and we ended up working out at the same place. So we started at Uptown Fitness, this little downtown gym in the basement of a old building in downtown Indiana. And we would we were both really still starting out. I look back at some of the videos that we had from then, and
I look back at some of the programs I made back then.
The programs too. and the videos, we were just total amateurs compared to where we are now, but just really cool to look back and to remember that that's what we were always just really interested in it. We worked really well together. We worked out and we kept in contact a lot. And so I decided to do my master's in exercise physiology, just like John had, or I enrolled in the same program. And during that time, I was still thinking of a higher education. I wanted to maybe do physical therapy. And I knew in the back of my head I wanted to work with athletes, because if you get into this kind of field, a lot of people really do want to work with athletes. That's their dream, I feel like, for strength and conditioning, they have options, or for exercise phys, right? They have options like cardiac rehab and pulmonary rehab and positions like that, but I feel like a lot of people really want more but don't necessarily find it, I guess.
Yeah.
Or at least what I saw. And so I was thinking physical therapy. So I went through the whole track, the whole program, with the intent of going into physical therapy school after. And so I did a full summer physical therapy internship, so I got to work with a ton of different people there, really working on exercise progression and, bringing these people from a knee replacement back to walking up and down the stairs, people in their older age, as well as some athletes that came through. But that was my real first experience working with clients in a training setting, which was really cool. But again, it wasn't quite what I wanted to do. I still felt like there was missing pieces. I had learned and studied a lot of my own mobility because I had a pretty gnarly shoulder injury, and I just was so interested in how some of the mobility techniques that were coming out, like with Kelly Starrett and the mobility WOD. That was when he was just starting, and how just taking a lacrosse ball and kind of understanding the way the body works and improving range of motion. I had gone to a year and a half of physical therapy, and they said I was stuck at 70% range of motion overhead, and that's just the way it was going to be. And even with my own practice, I was able to gain a ton ton more motion and function out of my shoulder, where I'm still extremely athletic and able to lift and do pretty much everything that I want to now. So I just thought there was a lot of missing pieces. So physical therapy ended up going out the window, and I was kind of directionless for a little while, and John and I would talk every once in a while, and I was working at the time. I'd been at the same place that we were at for like 3 years, and I remember texting you. I was like, dude, I want your life. I was like, that sounds so fun. I was like, he's telling me about working with the kids up there and how, they're in the gym and how it's just a really, really awesome time. And I was like, I want that life. Literally like 2 days later, John texts me. He's like, hey, I got you an internship up here. When can you start? And so I think it was that day or the day after I put my 2 weeks in at my place I was working in, and I packed my stuff up and I moved to New York to go do this internship with John. And so started off as an intern there and went through the whole program, and it was awesome. We had a ton of experience. We worked, with a ton of athletes. We were at the the Rangers hockey facility in New York and Westchester. We got
that
to
was
do
like 500 kids a week or something crazy.
There was quite a few kids where I got just experience with so many different demographics and groups of people and ages, and we even had adult training at that facility too. So yeah. I did get some experience working with adults and personal training, and I had never really done any of this before for real. So it was an awesome learning experience for me. And I just soaked up as much knowledge as I could. And then I ended up getting another job as a traveling personal trainer to kind of supplement my income. And that was another amazing experience up in New York, where I would travel around and drive to people's homes and give them an hour-long workout with what I could carry into their home. I had kettlebells and dumbbells, battle ropes, a big duffel bag, some free weights and stuff, like a easy bar. And that was really great too for experience. And then we picked a day where we decided we wanted to start our own thing. And we literally picked a day and we drove here to Texas.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
What do you think would be like the tipping point, the moment when you realized that you wanted to kind of dive a career into fitness related anything? Was there like a certain moment?
I mean, it's still hitting me, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like when we were in, me moving up to New York was because I didn't end up going the physical therapy track, and I really didn't have a direction. I was like, cool, I'll go up, get some more experience. If I want, school will always be there. If I want to go back to physical therapy school, it'll be there. So I might as well go up, get some experience in my field and do something different. I was basically just doing the same thing. I was living, in Indiana at home, which there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but, I was working at the same place and doing the same things, and I just wasn't going anywhere. And so I knew I needed to make a big change in order to make something happen. So moving up there started off as just gaining more knowledge and experience. And then I just loved connecting with the people and I loved the knowledge. And I started to realize that through my studies and my own practice and experience that I had so much more information in my head than 90% of people. Mm-hmm. Like, it blew me away. Like, I guess I didn't have the confidence to go into it before, because I didn't realize like how much we actually knew.
Right.
Just from our own experience and paying attention and talking to different people and like just gathering knowledge through those years really paid off, I think. So tell them about just like our experience at the Sports Performance Gym in New York. Like just a little bit of the experience that we had and like why it may have like pushed us in this direction, like how we ended up owning our own place. Like, because that's always a really cool thought for me, is like if we had a different experience there, we probably wouldn't have thought about opening our own place, but we knew that like we could do this.
Right. I mean, how deep do you want me to go?
Nah, as much as you want. Just go ahead.
So, well, I mean,